Hey, welcome back to Why Aren't You, the show where I talk about stuff I like for about 10 minutes and hope that someone else goes out and learns to love this stuff too. Last time I talked about one of my favorite musical podcasts, which you can watch in the iCard. It's either up here, up here. I always forget which one it is. Um, but this week I'm going to introduce you to one of my new favorite beat 'em up video game franchises, Yakuza. The first Yakuza game was initially released in Japan in 2005 by Sega for the PlayStation 2. The English localization team initially ran a pretty aggressive ad campaign for the game, enlisting the talents of the likes of Michael Madsen, Mark Hamill, and others to join the English translated voice cast. It's definitely odd hearing the English voices from Japanese mouths in a setting where all the text in the city is also in Japanese.
Ow! Hey, the fuck you think you're doing? And just what the fuck family are you from, huh?
Excuse me.
Excuse you? No. Fuck you!
Personally, I think the original Japanese voice acting gives the game its charm and adds a bit of realism. I never picked up the original Yakuza games and instead played the remakes for PlayStation 4, which were only available with Japanese audio, and I think that just feels right. I usually feel the same way with movies and TV though, so maybe that's just my own personal preference. Like most games from Japan, the Yakuza games usually release in Japan first and then take an extra year to get to the United States. Luckily, there are already 7 games available in the franchise that are already available in the US, with an 8th one on the way, so you don't have to hold out for any game to come out to get the full experience. In 2017 and 2018 respectively, Sega remade and re-released the first and second Yakuza games in the series with updated graphics and updated gameplay elements. Because of this, the oldest game that you'll have to deal with if you choose to try them out is only about 10 years old, which honestly isn't that bad. Some of the graphics from that game also don't look too bad on modern hardware. Throughout the Yakuza games, you play as Kazuma Kiryu, one of the top soldiers for the Tojo clan. The Tojo clan is a collection of Yakuza families in Kamurocho, Japan, Tokyo's fictionalized red light district. The game starts in 1995, as Kiryu is framed for murdering his boss and his family. The police take and jail Kiryu for about 10 years. Once Kiryu is released, he makes it his duty to climb the ranks and get revenge on those who had wronged him in the past. He also begins to care for a young orphan girl, Haruka. The game not only follows Kiryu's rise in the ranks, but also his re-encountering of humanity by taking care of this young girl and becoming a father figure for her. The rest of the franchise follows Kiryu's other brushes with the Yakuza of differing factions, families, and regions of Japan. Most of these encounters will involve Kiryu beating the living daylights out of countless nameless cronies throughout the different families. A few big names in those families, and at the end of whatever game, one big one-on-one fight with the main antagonist that involves both men shedding their shirts and suit coats and revealing their bulging muscles and badass back tattoos. That's another thing that's super fascinating about this game. The artwork on some of the back tattoos displayed in this game are gorgeous. All these tattoos in the game have a pretty big significance to the story, which is really interesting to me. For instance, Kiryu has a dragon tattoo on his back, and throughout the games, he's referred to as the Dragon of Dojima because of how legendary his fighting abilities are. However, in Yakuza 2, the main villain also has a dragon tattoo, and wants to defeat Kiryu because there can only be one dragon, as he puts it. It's also worth noting that the main villain of Yakuza 6 chooses to never get his own Yakuza tattoo. His main belief system is to update the modern Yakuza to new morals, and tattoos with nicknames are a symbol of the old guard. Most of the story-driven gameplay in the franchise has you walking around from mission point to mission point in an open-world map, beating up enemies on the way, leveling your character, and learning new abilities. And if this was the only part of the game, that would be enough. But where the game actually shines is the different distractions in the mini-games and side missions that they stuff into this game. For instance, in the first game, there's a tournament-style coliseum in which you can fight enemies one-on-one with no gear and items to help you test your skills as a fighter. From these tournaments, you can earn special gear and items to help you in other minigames scattered throughout the world. The Yakuza games also feature minigames like mahjong, blackjack, karaoke, RC car racing, host club simulations, fishing, you name it. Whenever you get sick of the main story, you can even run to an arcade and play a version of Virtua Fighters. This way, it's easier to relax and unwind from the story a little bit and give you a chance to settle with everything. The writing staff also hires an entire different team to write the sub-stories of these games. These side missions aren't required for you to do, but still have a nice impact and feel of world building in the game. They're usually an insane amount, like 70-ish per game. I never complete all of them, but I'll do a decent chunk of them. They usually have pretty great rewards too. One of the sub-stories I did, completely by chance, had me bringing food and milk to a pair of lost kittens in an underground homeless shelter, and they ended up leading me to a buried treasure with super strong armor and 500,000 yen, which lasted me pretty much the whole rest of the game by buying health potions and things. Most of the games feature your average beat-em-up fighting styles, just hitting the attack button until the enemy goes down. But Yakuza Kiwami, the remake of the first game, features a way to change your fighting style on the fly. This allows you to choose between a fighting style of fast and light punches, heavy brutal swings, or an in-between that mimics boxing. There's a fourth fighting style that can only be unlocked by doing side quests, but it's the most powerful style, so there's even more of an incentive for you to do more than what is required of you. For whatever reason, I've heard about this franchise before, but only recently picked it up, so I'm glad I did. It fulfills every little bit of anime thirst that I need, and also puts the power of the anime protagonist in my hands. It would also be kind of daunting seeing how many health bars some of the enemies would get, but with some good perseverance and keeping calm, I was treated to an impressive fight with a nice conclusion to the story presented to me in the form of a cutscene. One thing I will warn about is the cutscenes do kind of get a little bit long, so if you're not into that, then maybe this might not be for you. I think the longest cutscene that I had to deal with at one time was about 20 minutes long without having me do anything. Don't let that deter you too much from playing the game, because throughout all the ridiculous gameplay and soap opera style plot points, there's a lot of fun to be had if you can just turn your brain off. And now for the real stuff. Why aren't you playing this game? Besides the obvious, I don't have time to start a new game, or I don't have the money for an entire franchise. And I'll get to that point. I don't like anime, so I don't think I'll like this game. Unfortunately, anything Japanese or something somewhat related to anime gets a bad rap because of the kind of people that are normally associated with liking the genre. It's not as obnoxious as everyone makes it out to be, and I honestly think this would be a good introduction to anime ideas. There's no suspension of disbelief with superpowers or ninja stuff or space or anything too intense. This is a relatively grounded story with some over-the-top reactions and fight scenes, so I think this is perfect to dip your toes in. I don't like that the voices are in Japanese. Give me English or give me death. I think this is an argument that can be made about subtitles in general, but why would you not want to hear the original voice actors as they were initially intended to be heard? Like, no matter what English interpretation there is out there, it will never capture the same exact magic as the original audio with the subtitles for translation. As for the world of video games, most of the early games in the world didn't even get fully voiced audio until just before this game came out. So, wouldn't you have read most of the story anyways? Why is that an issue now? Video Game Donkey said this game is weird. Is it weird? No. Okay, the game can be a little bit different at times, but it's usually one of the side missions that doesn't have any relationship with the real plot. If anything, those weird storylines can act like a nice bit of a palate cleanser to distract yourself from the constant death and backstabbing and other heavy topics discussed in the main gameplay. Do I have to play every single game in the franchise? 8 seems like a lot to pick up. Yeah, 8 games is kind of a lot. Some people barely have time to get through one game. In all actuality, I can only fully recommend 2 of the games, 3 if you're nasty. The Yakuza game series is best represented, in my opinion, in the first 2 games. For modern consoles, these games would be Yakuza Kiwami and Yakuza Kiwami 2. They're remasters of the first 2 games in the series with modern elements to bring the games to current gen. including improved graphics, item systems, and level up scenarios. If you want, Yakuza 0 is a prequel that takes place 10 years before the first game and uses the same game engine as the Kiwami games. Only adventure past this if you really are invested in the story and want to learn more. As Yakuza 3 is the most boring game in the franchise, in my opinion. The upside to this is that Yakuza 4, 5, and 6 are also phenomenal games, but then we get back into the I don't have time thing, which I totally understand. Yakuza 0, Yakuza Kiwami 1, and Yakuza Kiwami 2 can all be purchased on PS4 and Xbox One, and are currently available via the Xbox Game Pass. If you're still enjoying the series and want more, Yakuza 3 through 6 can also be found on PS4 and Xbox for purchase. In any case, I thank you all for watching this video till the end. Leave a like if you liked it, comment a suggestion for something I can review in the future, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, both linked below, and have a great rest of your day. I'll see you guys in the next video.